I can't tell you, I never felt more American than standing on the French and having a little old French lady come up to me and say thank you. She had been there that day at Normandy and D-Day. She was a little kid, but she had been there. French woman.
Steve, it's great to have you in here.
It's nice to be with you guys. Good.
Thank you so much. For a lot of Wichitans, your voice became a lot of their daily routine. Whether it was a morning drive, breaking news, or any major story that had the city talking, your voice is one that people trusted. Thank you for sitting down with us.
That's good. Thank you for saying that. And my wife said one time, we went to war one night to Ukraine or somebody. She says, if we're going to war, she says, I want you to tell me about it on the radio. I said, thank you. I guess it's an honor. Kind of a responsibility, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So you have a very decorated career, being honored with the Marconi Award, one of the highest honors in radio, multiple Murrow Awards for journalistic excellence, and an induction into the Kansas Association of Broadcasters Hall of Fame. People like you, we were talking about this earlier, people like you are very important. You prove that major journalism doesn't have to come from New York or LA, and it can come from right here in Wichita. What do you recall most about receiving those awards, and how did you feel?
First of all, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you the Marconi Award was for Steve and Ted. Ted Woodward, my co-host, he's been like a nephew or almost like a son over 28 years. So there's that. Kansas Association of Broadcasters, you touched on it, but we got the Hall of Fame. My coworkers and I over the years have done probably at least 40 major awards from them, best newscast, best spot news, things like that. They're great honors, some of the people in my business say, "Oh, I'm in the Hall of Fame. Who cares?" But not me. I think it's very important, and I treasure it. And maybe that sounds kind of vain, but you don't work at something all your life and not have people. If you're appreciated, that's great. There are a lot of people who don't get appreciation. They just keep going. God bless them. But I forgot what your question was, but I hope I got close to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just how you felt getting all those awards.
It's an honor. It's humbling to me.
Yeah. How did your journey in news start? Did you study journalism in college? How'd you get into the whole thing?
No. I had a course in journalism in my life. But I've got at least a master's degree and experience on the job. I started out, just wanted to be in radio. When I was a kid, I listened to the guys in play-by-play. I loved sports. I was an athlete. I loved sports. I wanted to be, I wanted to be on the radio doing sports. I didn't really care much about TV. I didn't have a very good face for TV, but that's what I wanted to do. And then I went to college for a year or two, and then I got into the Columbia School of Broadcasting. And it's a correspondence course. They send you discs, and you played these records, and an instructor would tell you how to do things. Had booklets. It concentrated basically on enunciation and pronunciation and how to project your voice. And so consequently, their graduates are all pretty clean. Anyway, I've taken this course, and I'm going along, and my brother was hanging out with a guy at a bar, and he said, "Hey, my younger brother's wants to get on radio." And this guy's name was Little John. He was at the underground station 97 FM. And says, "Yeah, come up and see us." And I went up in the old KFH building, which was downtown, and talked to Little John and Dick Rippey, who was the KFH program director. At any rate, I did an air check. And they said, "Okay, fine." They shopped me around. I finally found a guy named Chuck Schechner, who was at KWBB, 1410 AM. And he said he needed a newsman. A guy named Mark Schwartzel, going in the Navy. I need somebody in a hurry. Well, so I gave him the resume and the tape and everything. And I didn't get a call. I kept pestering him. Finally, he caved and said, "Come aboard." So I started in the news. And I've always been a good writer and fairly good reader. So instead of being a DJ or a sports guy, I started in news and never looked back. Said, "Okay, I'll learn this." And I had some of my teachers. I just talk about one of my teachers. You talk about education. One of my teachers was a guy named Hugh Warren, who for about 35 years was in charge of AP broadcast in Kansas City, Associated Press. This is Kansas and Missouri. This guy's in charge at night for everything. And I began to feed stories to him on the phone. "Oh, we got a murder overnight." Da, 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 da. And he would take it down, and pretty soon the wire service would click, 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 and there's our call letters. I'm really turned on by that. K-E-Y-N, there's my call. I was a K-E-Y-N by then. K-E-Y-N, there's my call letters. And began to string, and we were stringing a couple, 300 stories a year, so I would call him and say, hey, Hugh, I got this. And he'd come back and say, well, what about, he would talk like that. Well, what about this story? Did you ask him this? And I learned to be a journalist. And God, I just say fortune, I became a pretty good one, I think. So, yeah. What was the question again?
No, you nailed it. What year did you start doing
I started
the news?
in 1970 at KWBB in July. Yeah, and I was there about 6 months. A new manager came in. I won't mention his name because he's still around. And he said, we've got to cut expenses, and we got to take down 3 jobs, one in programming, one in sales, and one in news. And he said, and you're the last guy hired in news, and we're going to have to let you go. So okay. So first person I called was a guy named Dave Biondi, who was the program director at KEYN. They were starting out. They were FM. They were starting. And I'd known Dave from before I got into broadcasting. He says, come over here. So I came over there. I got a part-time job, went into a full-time job, and I spent 10 years at KEYN and left in 80. And that brings up something that happened recently with the passing of Greg Williams, the hit man. You know him from Power 93 and KKRD.
Yes.
And Greg, when the last few months I was at KEYN, they took me out of news and put me into a morning show as a co-host. So now I'm a personality with a guy named Roger Mundy. And Roger was very talented, and we had Mac and Mundy. It went over 2 months, and we took it to number 1 in the ratings. And then they fired us. But while we was there, they had this young guy come in doing all nights, and Greg was doing all nights. And I think he had just graduated from Southeast or something. And he was like an eager little puppy. Wow. Hey, I loved what you guys do this. Hey, how do you do that? And he was he was wide open. You could tell he loved radio and he wanted to learn something. And from then on, I've worked with him in like 2 or 3 different places. A class act, a guy who did a lot of things for the community, and God bless him. He was a wonderful, wonderful guy. I enjoyed it. Very professional.
How was he able to be so unique on air, you think?
Greg?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was him. I mean, just be natural, be who you are. I'm going to walk down the hall because our studio at KNSS was just 4 doors down from his at Power, and there was 3 studios in between. And I go down there to take a break, and I'll hear this in the control room. He is laughing at the top of his lungs. And I said, it can't be that funny. It can't be that funny. But he was having a good time. He loved what he was doing, and it is fun to do radio. When you're doing live radio, it's fun if you got the right people there.
Right. You think it's authenticity that drives success on those shows? What do you think makes a radio show versus ones that don't make it?
For him, and I'd say for the one that I just stopped doing, I've retired now, but it's locking into the community. It's realizing you're actually speaking over a microphone, but you're actually talking to somebody. You're not just talking to the dead, space. You're talking to somebody's out there in their car, somebody's in their home, and you lock into that. And for Greg, Ted Woodward, and me, the 3 guys who grew up in this town, we know a lot about the town. We know a lot about the people, and we got a lot of friends. And you're just talking to your hometown. And there's a lot in radio. That's pretty rare. Usually a jock will come in and he'll stay he'll go to Cleveland a year or 2, and then he's out to Baltimore, And that's the way it was for years and years. But we stayed here, and this is our town, And Greg was beautiful. He locked into it.
You brought up, I've heard people tell me I've got a face for radio.
No. That's not a good joke. How many bald jokes you think I can do? I can do a whole book. How are people so cruel? You got a nice face.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. You should tell that to other people, too.
Yeah, well, I'll tell my granddaughters, but they're both spoken for.
You've covered so much during your time. Breaking news, weather, sports. What stories really stick out to you when you think back on your career?
I think you have to. I'll give you a couple. One of them, the sniper in downtown Wichita from the Holiday Inn, guy who killed 8 people and wounded killed 3 people and wounded 8 in the middle of the day in downtown Wichita. I was able to get down there and park my car just over on Waco on the other side of where he was, and I went behind a building, and I was standing there with some EMTs, and the guy's still firing, and we don't know. Is he shooting at us? Where's he shooting? Finally, they got the squawk. Hey, all clear, come in. And the EMTs, I just got behind them with my little tape recorder and ran across this field, and there we were. And there were dozens people all over the place. They'd rushed in there to see who was hurt and whatever. Got a good interview with Sheriff Johnny Darr, who was on top of it, knew everything was going on. Took the story back, did a couple of live shots on the radio. Took the story back, and we began to get calls. We put it on the wire, KUIN, and I mean, copy was like triple space, which meant like in the world, man. Big deal. And we started doing stories for other radio stations across the country and in Australia and different places. That was big. Wow. I think the BTK thing was awesome. Went on for years. I didn't have much to do with it, just reporting on it every day, but what a story. And it's interesting, when they finally captured the man and took him into custody, I got a call. I had an agent at the time. Called, he says, "Wait," I said, "Might have something for you here." He says, "Got a crew from, I think it was Denmark. They wanted to do a documentary on BTK. And I think you could be involved." I said, "Okay, that'd be great. And I probably want my insight and, and maybe narrating some things and things like that." No. They called me and said, "Well, okay, we got this shoot tomorrow on next Thursday, and we want you to be there at so-and-so time, and make sure you don't shave for a while." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "What do you mean, don't shave?" He said, "Well, that's the way he looks. That's his look." So what they were looking for,
oh my gosh,
is somebody who looks like BTK, right? And I said, "No, you terrorized my wife and people. I can't do that." And it would have been somewhere. It would have been black and white in grainy stuff that they mix in with the actual footage. And I turned it down. Probably, I don't know. I think maybe $15,000 for half day's work, but I couldn't do it.
They wanted you to play
wanted
BTK.
Me to be BTK. They finally
call.
went out and found somebody at Boeing or someplace who was a pretty good likeness. I have a former coworker who calls me by BTK's first name whenever she sees me. Thank you.
Wow.
Jeez.
They found some third shifter that didn't like the job that would take $15,000.
Yeah. Well, probably did. That's about what the scale was for that kind of thing.
Wow. I want to go back to the shooter on the Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that day? What time did that all start? Did you get a phone call saying this is going on and you drive down there? How did that day kind of transpire?
My memory is that I was at home and probably taking a little nap. My memory is early afternoon. My memory says that there was some sort of big accident on the highway somewhere. And Rob Dean, who was my newsman, called me, say, "We got this, you want to go to it?" I could go to it. So I was going there, and all of a sudden you get this, the scanner you've got in your car, the police scanner. We got a shooting at a Holiday Inn downtown, and they pretty much said there's a sniper shooting. So, okay, so I'm going there. And went over there, and it was pretty scary. But, just people everywhere in down below. And, of course, Joe Goulart, who was a photographer for the Eagle, and he also did film for Channel 3. Joe had been coming up the street across from right next to Century 2, and the shooter had hit him, shot him in the chest, and killed him dead right there. And he didn't even have his shoes on. He'd been painting the house. But Joe was killed, and so the information leaking out. My wife was at work someplace. I don't know where she worked, but the information coming out that it looks like a news person has been shot. And Shelley didn't know. She thought it could have been me. So I called her quick. "No, it's not me." But that was an interesting story. Joe Goulart was an interesting guy. He always had a cigar in his mouth. And he was one of those old stool type photographers. If he has a criminal's being arrested, he'd go up there and punch him like this and get him upset so he'd get better shot.
Oh my God.
So you were on the ground as that guy was still up there shooting.
Yeah. I heard about 3 pops, and then all of a sudden they had him.
Wow. Were you still there when they brought him down?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you saw him and everything?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And over the years, got to talk to interviewed the fellows who were there, and most of them are gone now. Mike Hill was there, who's a former sheriff.
Mm-hmm. I think he's the one that took him down.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was Mike with a shotgun blast in his legs, and there was 4 or 5 other cops that became pretty prominent in the community. But that's quite a story. That's a big story. There's one that's been pretty much forgotten, and I call it the Hayesville hostage situation. This happened, I was still at KUI, it was the late 70s. It was after the sniper. A guy named Larry Lear barricaded himself in his girlfriend's house with 2 of her kids, and he threatened to kill them. And the police showed up, and he just basically was holding them hostage. And they did everything wrong, the cops. Now, I was down there. It was the coldest day ever. I was down there about 10 hours. We were in a house next to the house, behind it there, kind of all of us reporters. And he basically, his name was Larry Lear. He exchanged hostages, the kids, for people he knew. His attorney, Sheriff Dar. I remember this. Dar was standing on the front porch under his underpants because the guy made him strip before he came in. And just a long story short, at the end of the day, they couldn't talk him out of it, and they had 2 sheriff's officers behind a pickup out in their driveway, snipers. And they counted 3, and they fired both at the same time. One of them hit a door. One of the bullets hit a door jamb and went like that. And as he stood up, Larry Lear. The other bullet hit him right there and nailed him. And one of the officers there, Harry Miner, who was a good friend, jumped up, grabbed him by the hands, and took him down. He was sitting on stairs with his girlfriend's head right there when they fired. If they nailed him. That was
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
People don't remember that story, but it was a heck of a story.
I have never heard of that, and I take a lot of pride in Wichita history. Knowing Wichita history, I didn't know. I mean,
you could have a hard time researching it because I tried to go back like archives and Eagle, and I couldn't find story on it. So,
oh my goodness!
Did some digging on it. It's pretty fascinating. I talked about Harry Miner, who was a lieutenant in the police department, a longtime friend of this guy, our acquaintance, and Harry went on and documented all this and made a slideshow and a presentation out of it. And basically, he was showing how not to do a hostage situation. They did everything wrong. And he took that, and I saw the presentation. It was a terrific presentation. He showed it to the military. He shopped it around it. It was very interesting. I don't know where that stuff is now, but I'd sure love to have it. You guys would be interested in that one.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. What a story.
Well, this guy had, he'd gotten a speeding ticket and things were going wrong, and he was suicidal, and he had a bad day, and they ended up getting killed.
My goodness. There's been so much. We've talked with multiple others. If you're a retirement age lifelong Wichitan, you've seen so much.
Yeah.
Things that come to mind, obviously, the Wichita Sniper, BTK, Carr Brothers, the Forgotten Four.
Carr Brothers. Oh, there's another one.
Right.
That one, I was at KNSS then. I can't remember what year that was. At any rate, I remember the morning. It was so cold. And we were in there huddled in I was preparing the show and the news and everything. And we got this scanner, again, the police scanner, shooting, 4 victims, code blue. I think, there's 4 people shot, and they're all either dead or dying. Then we hear something about, I hear somebody saying, this woman says there's a young woman at her door covered with blood. And at that point, we had one of our people working with a guy named Bill Knowles. I said, Bill, can you go out? They spotted where this field was where they had the victims. Can you go out there? And he went out and got us some, he got covered, got sound and all that. And that was just an ugly, ugly story. And my daughter knew one of the victims, and was a good friend of hers. And yeah, the Carr brothers, terrible story.
Were you?
We had some good ones too. I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah, a lot of good ones.
yeah.
Another one I did want to bring up. Were you in the newsroom during the 1991 Andover tornado?
I don't know. In 91,
Yeah, I think there was an F5 in Andover.
the first one.
The
I
big
don't
one
think-
that went from Clearwater straight line.
Oh
to,
yeah, okay, yeah. We
Andover.
were there. I was in the covering it from the. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I was there. We tracked that. I didn't get out there until the next day, and that's the one who went through the trailer court, right?
I believe
And
so.
the second we had later went into
Hit the
yeah,
YMCA. That's one in
Yeah, the trailer court
2022.
thing. I went out the next day, and it was like 10 giant satellite dishes. I mean, CNN was there, ABC, CBS, everybody was there. And I found the sheriff of the Butler County Sheriff, I can't remember, Williams, I think. Williamson, that was his name. So he gave me a great interview. Boy, he had his facts together. He was a good interview. Took it back and won a couple of awards for that one, for that story. But yeah, we used to cover those tornadoes pretty actively.
Understood. When you're reporting the news at that time, there's significantly less news outlets than there are now. Did you feel that as a sense of responsibility that kind of made you pause and make sure the information you were reporting was accurate? Because there's not very many news outlets at that time.
We talk about news outlets depending on what time you're talking about. We're talking about late 70s into the 80s. I'll talk about radio. There were about 5 radio stations that were basically music stations that did a lot of news. And when I was at KUYN, which was a rock and roll radio station, before I left, we had a 4-person news department. And then we weren't a big one. There was KFH, there was KFDI, there was Cake Radio, 4 or 5 people each. And it was very competitive. You know, you wanted to be the first there. And yes, you better get it right. that was one thing. You're going to be first, but you better get it right. That's the way I felt anyway.
Yeah, that's a reputation ruiner. You know, not much pride in being first if you're wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
First to be wrong is not
right, exactly right.
But there is, you know, and I resent some of the times the way media people are portrayed, because it's not a science. It's more an art to try to get the facts out of a situation and to be fair and go. The ones I know, good ones, have always been that way. Fair, right down the middle. And to say we're all a bunch of liberal pinheads is just people who are conservative pinheads calling us that, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm a fairly conservative guy. But when somebody stands up and says, a prominent person says, looks in the camera and says, those people hate America. They don't love America. I wanted to punch the guy. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but I wanted to punch him right through the TV screen, because dadgummit, you're talking to me, buddy. And if you're talking, and that's just not fair. And you get it wrong now and then. And I look at the other day. Here's an example. The other day, somebody did a story on the pancake thing in England, where they had the race on Strom Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever. And they did CNN did the whole story. I think it was CNN or maybe CBS. They did the whole story. And here's this, and they did not ever mention the fact that at the same time they run that race in Old England every year, they run the same race in Liberal, Kansas. It started in Liberal, and they compare the times to see who wins every year. But Kansas wasn't even mentioned. So I look at that and say there was a news person, there was a producer, a director. It takes about 12 people to do a news story on TV. And none of them was over 25 years old. Excuse me, you guys are young guys, but there's no frame of reference. And I thought,
Right.
You guys missed half the story. Way to go.
I think the talking about biasness of media, I feel like it's a national versus a local thing. Like when I see local people talking, I really never think like,
Yeah.
oh, you're preaching to me or trying to BS me. Where nationally, I feel a lot of times what you were saying about, you get mad at people thinking that way. Sometimes nationally, I think that way. Like, you're just feeding me a pile of you know what. You know,
Well,
where locally, I don't really ever
You
think
know,
that.
and I go back to the nature of broadcasting. When I was growing up, you had 4 radio stations, 4 local TV stations, and 4 networks, and that was it for news. And now you've got how many cable news organizations?
Like nationally?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then you come back, and I come back and say, okay, I can look at a newscast for almost all of them and say, oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty much down the middle. Then they get the talking heads on, and exactly what you're saying. They go clear over here or they go clear over there. And
Right.
they do that because it's ratings. They can get ratings that way. When they anger you, they're getting
Totally.
ratings.
Totally.
Yep, they'll keep you coming back.
Yeah.
Rage and fear, they sell.
Fear and rage, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's something. And I'll go deeper on you. That's something that troubles me about our country right now. Is there is so much anger, and I see it locally, in people. They're upset. They're angry. I guess there's good cause, but
Why do you think that is? Do you even have an opinion on it? Why do you think people are
A
angry?
couple of things. Things aren't going well. They don't think in their lives, and you got media is such that we're showing them all the time. Look at these brand new cars. Look at these beautiful people. Look, this is what you ought to be. Yeah, greed, and it never any sense. You know, what would Jesus do? Nobody ever says that.
No.
So I'm thinking that there's something going on that goes deeper than just our politicians and so forth.
Yeah.
I think there's something going on, and when you personally look at a situation like mine and my wife, both of us working hard over 50 years, and I'm not going to tell you how much money I made, but I'll tell you it wasn't great, and I'll tell you it wasn't probably national average. And over the years, that you take the number and you compare it over to 50 years, and I've lost money. Never near stayed up with inflation, going years and years and years with no pay raise. But you do it because you love it.
Right. Right. Like
And
that's
you figure out how I don't need another pair of jeans. I don't need another new car. I've got 3 in the driveway. I don't need it. And people in this country I don't think a lot of them have that discipline. You say, hey, I got to live within my means. And so that angers them. How come I can't have this? And then, the credit card bill comes in. Ooh. And there's a lot of things to anger you. I see you're on the
or a
wall
10-year
there,
car loan or something like
The
that.
Chiefs Stadium there filled with people. I don't know why that reminded me that there's so much. We get so involved in sports, and I know you guys probably in sports, and I grew up in sports, but that's the only place it seems where people can have an outlet for that anger, because they can root for their team, and then they can, I don't get that involved, but
Tribal.
yeah. Oh, that's good, because I mentioned that several years ago in a commentary. We're tribes. We've
Yeah.
gone into tribes now.
Well, it's in our DNA.
That's a good point.
It's in our DNA. No matter who you were, your ancestors were at some point tribes in the past.
Absolutely.
And it's how humans survived.
Yeah,
You group up and your ability to survive increases with a group.
absolutely.
But you brought up a good point about your salary not keeping up with inflation. Like, because I think about this a lot and, for my future, but like you made the sacrifice to do what you love, to not make an attorney's salary, where the attorney, maybe they love their job, but a lot of them don't, sacrifice doing what they are passionate about or love for the high salary. And it's just a funny thing that all humans go into. You just got to find the middle ground or accept that you're making the sacrifice of not making enough to do what you love, or making a boatload of money and maybe hate your life.
I'll tell you
Everybody's doing that.
My 2 grown kids come to me and they're complaining about work or something. I said, it's real simple. This is it. How much crap will you put up with for the dollar?
Right.
And I say, well, I loved what I did, but I'm not going to do it for free. I mean, that's called slavery.
Right. But yeah, not doing it for free, but not making,
Yeah.
$500,000 a year.
Well, one of my managers told me once, Mac, he said, you really should demand more money. I said, yeah, I'll go in there and ask for a 10% raise and say, well, we don't need you anymore. Goodbye. It's not that easy.
Right.
I mean, there's no protection. So I can't complain, guys. 55 years and I got a great wife and a good family and I'm healthy. I'm not going to sit here and complain about anything. But I had a friend. This was several years ago. It's buddies. We were out having a drinking, and he's complaining about. I don't know who the president was at that time, but making jokes about him and this and that and being. And finally, I looked at him and I won't tell you his name, but I said, I'm going to ask you something. How's your health? Well, good. You getting good health insurance? Oh yeah, good, great coverage. Making any money? Oh, we couldn't do better. I said, well, you quit bitching. I'll quit whining.
Great perspective.
Totally.
Are we a nation of whiners? Have you ever been to France, Normandy?
No, I want to.
Go. You'll never feel more American.
I really want to get to Normandy, and I really want to get to Pearl Harbor.
Oh, yeah. I can't tell you, I never felt more American than standing on the French and having a little old French lady come up to me and say thank you. She had been there that day at Normandy and D-Day. She was a little kid, but she had been there, French woman. And to see all those crosses, why did we do that? Could the kids today do that? Hey, by the way, we're going to go save another country. Wait a minute. I got a video game going here. I have a feeling that if we were properly challenged, our young people would rise to the occasion. They always have. I mean, going back over the centuries. Our enemies always think we're just big, fat, lazy doofuses.
At times we are.
Yeah, at times we are. And there's another thing. You can't go, I don't think you can go around and saying, America, it's great. We're faultless. We're perfect. No. Read your history. We've done a lot of stupid, cruel things. But as a people, the principles of freedom and justice and mercy for all, no other country is founded like that. No other country, well, for the exception of our Canadians and our English friends, went in there at Normandy. Mm-hmm. Why? Because there was a thing to do. We needed to save civilization and stop Hitler. So,
could you imagine what those boys thought on those ships? 18 to low 20s, and you have the gunfire coming at you as you're getting out of the boat, having to wade hundreds of yards probably to the beach where you're just a sitting duck.
A lot of them fell in the water that was 4 or 5 feet deep and drowned.
Yep.
And the opening scene in
Saving Private Ryan,
the veterans will tell you it's very close.
There's a story.
Very accurate.
I heard on another show when Saving Private Ryan came out, a kid took his grandfather who served in World War II to the movie, and he said he had to step out of the theater because he could smell oil.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But back to what you were saying about the storm in Normandy, I think they thought it was just another training session, just to not raise concern, and they just kept going across the channel.
Well, they've been trained, so this is what we do.
Yep.
I'm sure. I doubt if they knew that those machine guns were mounted up there like that. The other place you need to go, if you go there, is go down the beach about 3 miles to Point du Hoc, where the Rangers went up on ropes 90 feet up, while these guys, the Nazis, are on top shooting machine guns at them.
Yeah.
And killing them. And the Rangers, the toughest guys we had, they kept going. And I was there, and there are shell holes as big as this room, still there.
Wow.
Up there on top of that place where we'd bombed them, and a bunker or two still there. Yeah, you guys need to go there. Normandy, yeah.
Wow. I've seen videos. It looks amazing. And I love World War II history. Obviously, I've got Mount Suribachi back there.
You got the Rat Pack over here.
Iwo Jima. Yep. The Rat Pack. Yeah, we're two old souls.
Al Capone's wanted poster over there for $25,000.
A lot of money at the time. A lot of money now.
I saw this stupid movie they made of his life with Rod Steiger. This was back in the 60s. It was a piece of baloney. He finally in prison, he died of like they never had syphilis. They really?
Right.
And it was awful.
Isn't it crazy? A guy as violent as Al Capone gets arrested for tax evasion and then dies of syphilis.
Yeah. Well, he had a wife and he had a kid, and he was very respectable in the way he conducted his life, except when he went to work.
Yeah.
Quite different. Interesting guy.
Totally.
Love history. You guys do too, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We had what's Mike Gann's official title?
Colonel.
colonel in the Marine Corps. He's retired now, and he was or was he based in Honolulu? But the Fishbowl, the cemetery in there where they brought all those specific guys, when he was about to retire, or one of his last, kind of missions or whatever they call them for the Marine Corps was bringing back people from the Pacific, soldier from the Pacific, their remains and identifying them.
Really?
And it was he was here for like 2 hours. Incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, he worked it was called the DPAA. And Blake, you may have to look that up. It's like Defense
he on your
Prisoner of War.
podcast?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good one, I'll bet. What was
Yeah.
his name again?
Michael Gann.
Gann?
Yeah.
G-A-N-N?
Yeah, he's a colonel in the Marine Corps. He served 7 tours, I believe.
7?
Yep. And at the end, like he was part of, I think he had just got out when they recovered Father Capon from Korea.
Yeah.
But he was heavily involved in trying to locate him for a long time. And a lot of the World War II guys, they go all the way back to World War II, still trying to find missing soldiers. It's hard in the South Pacific.
He told an incredible story during the podcast, and I'm probably not going to do it justice, but I'm going to try. They had found the remains of a soldier, and a lady came with him to see it, and she was all dressed up nice and had all this perfume on and, dressed to the nines. And Mike was like, what are you all dressed up for? And she said, this is the first time I'm ever going to meet my father. He had, he had gotten his wife pregnant, went to the war. He
Yeah.
died.
And she was
baby born.
Oh, wow.
She never met him. Incredible.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, truly amazing. But yes, we're huge history buffs.
Love it.
Love it.
I had a very a good friend, not close friend, but a good friend in high school who graduated from high school. We've grown up I grew up on Westlink out Tyler and Central. And Rick was one of our friends growing up, and we played Army. He would have, we'd be there with a broken broomstick for a gun. He had a replica rifle, pack, canteen, Army issue, helmet, and we'd go play Army this way. Of course, we started calling him Sergeant Rock because he liked comic books. He wound up going, long story short, he wound up going into the Navy SEALs and ultimately became a commander of the Navy SEALs. And he went through several tours of duty. When he left Afghanistan, he said he left some kids there, were Afghan kids that he loved. And it's a story where he actually, I probably shouldn't talk about this, but he actually noted, he saw some SEALs who were desecrating bodies. They were doing things to him. And he spoke up because he was a commander. In other words, you're not supposed to do anything illegal if you're in the military. Believe it or not, that's what they're told. He finally left the service, and he never in his retirement, Crick never went anywhere without a gun. Had 2 big dogs in his house, and there were people in the community of that SEAL community who didn't like the fact that he ratted them out. And there probably still are. There's probably somebody watching right now and say, well, that guy's a jerk. He did the right thing. I was very, very. His name is Rick Smethers, if you guys want to look him up. He's a Wichita boy.
Wow.
It's a good story. You'll like it.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Another place I would love to go that's here in the U.S., Gettysburg.
Oh, God, yeah. That's on my list, too.
I would love to get there.
Yeah.
God, think of the history that took place there.
The Civil War is just so wild. So wild. And one of the things that always sticks out to me is how all those generals from the North and the South were all at West Point really at the same time. They all knew each other. They all studied with each other. Then some went to the North, some went to the South, and now they're all driving armies against each other. Unbelievable dynamic of that war.
A couple of years ago, my son and grandson and I were we went to Baltimore to pick up my son's car, which he had shipped overseas. And we stayed, we got up to where the FBI headquarters are, Quantico. And we also went to the Battle of Bull Run, the first battlefield. Not much there, frankly, but I do want to get to Gettysburg too. That's an amazing story.
Mm-hmm.
You ever been to Boston?
No.
You haven't? We had our old high school history teacher on talking about the Revolutionary War and telling us all these heights and whatnot that the Continental Army came down on. I'd love to go to. I've never been to Boston either, but I'd love to go there and kind of just walk around and
I-
see
it's-
where all these where some of the founding fathers lived, see where all these revolutionary battles happened.
It's interesting. I just finished the second of a trilogy by Atkinson, he's written a trilogy on the Revolutionary War, and I'm into my second book, and I know that I'm looking for Benedict Arnold, and he hadn't got to that. The third book will probably have it, but Benedict Arnold was one of the most effective commanders we had, highly respected. He didn't feel like he got treated fairly.
Yep.
And he betrayed his country. I haven't got to the nuts and bolts of it, but he gave up West Point or something. But that's an interesting time. When you consider the fact that not everybody wanted to be free. There were a lot of people who said, "Man, we got it going pretty good with it being British subjects." And their navy, well, they were on 6 different continents at the same time. Their navy was huge.
Yeah, most powerful navy in the world.
Yeah. And came in here. We finally got the French and the Spanish on our sides. That helped quite a bit, I guess. But yeah, that'd be. I do want to. Baltimore, Boston. Baltimore's a lot of history in Baltimore too. So there you go.
Yeah, we did a deep dive on Washington crossing the Delaware on Christmas night, leaving Valley Forge. Amazing. Amazing. We got to get that painting down here too.
Yeah, we do. The frozen Delaware.
Yes.
Yeah. That's an interesting area right near Philadelphia, up in New Jersey. Around, I've driven through there when we were kids. And I remember that river is near Philadelphia, not even as wide as this room where we saw it, and then it gets wider as it goes up into New Jersey. But that's a great place to go. I got to go see Gettysburg, Little Round Top, Big Round Top.
Yes.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yep. Yeah, all the history here in the States, obviously it'd be great to get to Normandy, but there's things in the States that I got to see.
Yeah.
I do want to cover you and Ted Woodward's show.
Okay.
What a run. So that was a 3-hour weekday show,
Yeah.
and you had over 7,000 episodes.
Yeah. We went past 7,000 last year.
What'd you guys talk about? 7,000 episodes.
We talked about the same thing over and over again.
That's how you did it.
Yeah. We actually had one script, and I said, "Well, it's Tuesday. Yeah, let's do that." Well, I tell you, it was a lot of show prep. I spent hours and hours putting news together and whatnot, but we'd look for something, what's going on in the community. We steered, the secret was, we steered away from national politics. Okay. We do some local stuff. Well, here's a income or tax going up. We do that stuff. We stayed away from the politics. KNSS, the other 21 hours was devoted to conservative politics and talk. We stayed completely away from that. We brought up a lot of local stuff, anything local, because Ted, he graduated from Capon, and I graduated from West, and he's a great student of history, especially our city and our town. And we were on the same page. I'll tell you what we really liked. We both liked movies. Of course, Ted was a theater major at Notre Dame, and he loves to be on stage. I don't want to be on stage, but he loved to be on stage doing drama and singing and dancing. But we get to talking about movies, like old black and white movies, and it's hilarious because both of us we know a lot. We like that. Probably the worst thing for the listeners. I mean, they're driving work. Who the hell is Mildred Pierce? Would you guys shut up? What do the Shockers do? We don't care about that stuff.
Do any specific episodes stick out to you? I know you had Mitch Holtis. That had to be awesome.
Oh, having Mitch on every Friday was a treat. I mean, he was doing a baseball game back. Anyway, he ran into Ted was doing a PA announcing. This is years ago, and Mitch loved it. He went and made friends with him, and so Ted got Mitch to come on with us, and it was hilarious. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was a segment we looked to every Friday, and he would hook it up to Shocker football. Of course, we hadn't a Shocker football team since 1987, but he'd go back and find something in history and hook it up to the game coming. Oh, the game's in Pittsburgh. Well, back in and it was hilarious, and we'd get a laugh and joking. It's because he's from Smith Center. He knows every small town in Kansas, every mascot. Mitch is an incredible guy. He's a great guy.
Mitch, I remember Mitch, he might still do it, but now that WCU's out of the Valley, haven't been watching the Valley. He would do Missouri Valley Conference
he did
basketball
he did
games
that.
in the conference tournament. It seemed
Right.
like every year.
Yeah. I think that's where he ran into Ted in probably one of those games.
Yeah.
7,000. How many years is that?
28 goes back. Well, let's go to we started in January of 1998. 28, about 28. Yeah, and it's funny because I did my last show and I did some remembrance. One thing I've brought up was the fact that I don't remember either of us ever raising our voices to the other guy. I don't think we ever had a disagreement on anything. Maybe he just thought I wasn't worth arguing with. He gave up. I don't know. But we were on the same, on the same level. We were thinking the same things. And, yeah, we steered away from anything controversial.
Was it when
I had no idea he didn't like Protestants, okay?
When you first started that show, what was the theme for the show supposed to be when you started? And did it develop organically into something else?
It's pretty much what it is now. We had Mike Kennedy doing sports, and he was doing 2 sportscasts an hour, and Ted was doing all the news, a couple of newscasts an hour, and then I was filling in with this, that, and weather and breaks and all that. And we had we have a special guest every day. Mondays we had I can't remember the lineup, but we had Bonnie Bing was on one day telling us about fashions, which was an excuse for me to make a joke about T-shirts and jeans and whatnot. And Bonnie was great. And we had Father H, the tobacco smoking priest. I don't know if you know Father H.
No, who's Father H?
Father H. I don't know if he's still around, but yeah, his.
What would he come? Preach on?
Setter was his name. He did have I think he was the Goddard Church for a while, but he smoked cigars. That was his hobby. But he was also very good talker, had a lot of great ideas. So you bring him on to talk about cigars, he started talking about what's going on in the Catholic Church and what's going on in the world. So he was great.
Wow.
Then we had, I can't remember the top of my head who else we had, but I had a guest every day, and special guest. And they would be there those days, every day, week after week. And then we would do all the local stuff we could. So it was basically founded on what we did at the end. Wow. Use information and have a good time if you can. Realizing that people get up in the morning and sometimes it's not a pleasant day they're looking at. It could be pretty crummy. You got a bad job. We just wanted to try to make a positive impact on that. So we didn't bring up a lot of negative things and dwell on them, anything like that. We tried to get some fun in there. I had a woman call me. I was back at KUIN back in the day, and I did something on I don't know what it was about. It was a humorous deal or whatever, and maybe it was a commentary, whatever. She calls me, and she says, I just wanted to tell you that you made my day. She says, I've got cancer, and I'm not going to live much longer, and for me to have you say what you did, it just brought a smile to me, and I felt so good. Oh, God. Of course, I broke down. How can you, if you could have that kind of impact on somebody? That's a gift.
Oh, priceless.
That's a privilege. But yeah, I'm proud of that.
That's a powerful.
No lawsuits.
Not bad.
Yeah,
Not bad.
You're batting 1,000 then.
7,000 episodes, 0 lawsuits. Not bad. Not bad. You brought up Mike Kennedy.
Well, we'll see after this one.
Yeah,
it could be.
You brought up Mike Kennedy. We're at the game Saturday. They did him well. How awesome was that? Did you happen to see?
I haven't been to a Shocker basketball game in 3 or 4 years.
Oh, wow.
I was there Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Had us tricked.
I was enjoying
Yeah,
that.
you had us.
My wife and one of my granddaughters and her boyfriend, and we enjoyed that. Seeing Mike do it. He deserves it.
100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's great to see them hang him in the rafters, too.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
Got a banner for him. We had him a few months back down here. It was fantastic.
Got some stories.
Oh, yes, he's got some stories. Hearing him talk about, he had just started out. He was just on the beat, basically, when the football team crashed in, I think it was October of 1970.
October 2nd, 1970. I remember the day.
Oh, man. What were you doing that day? Do you remember?
I had done my news shift at KWBB, and I was in the business 3 months at that time. Anyway, I was at home, and Chuck Schechner, the news director, called me and said, hey, this plane crashed. Da-da-da. want you to go out to Wichita State, see if you can get somebody to go on tape and give us a statement. So I went out there to the field house, and people were milling around, and I couldn't find any officials that were ready to talk about anything. So there was a woman standing there, and I said, I came up, excuse me, I told her I was, says, can I talk to you about the plane? And she says, yeah, she says, and what's your name? My name is, I can't remember her first name, but her last name was Kimmel. And she basically gave me just a little sound about her husband is one of the players, and we don't know what's happened to him, and she was pretty upset. I found out later that Mal Gilmore was one of the guys who died. And, yeah, that was a heck of a day, a beautiful day, October 2nd.
That's what Mike said. Mike said the
That was the
exact
thing you
same
remember.
thing.
And
That's
I'll
crazy.
jump you ahead till 2008, October 2nd. Same beautiful day when I got to see the Rolling Stones at Cessna Stadium.
When did this?
can't-
I had no idea they came here.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
You can't imagine. I thought I knew something about entertainment.
Cessna Stadium?
Holy mackerel. The big lifts came up down there at the end of the end zone. The big red lift. And here they are doing our side. And I think they got into jumping jack flash or something. We were sitting down on the field at the end, right on the front row. And they started jumping jack flash. And I jumped up and started dancing. I haven't danced since I was 16 years old. And I was going crazy, going nuts. They had this little thing that brought a little smaller stage down through the audience to the end. And they're playing there, and I'm looking up, and there's Keith. He's looking right at me, mate, giving me a wink. I'm thinking, oh, God, have I gone to heaven? This is rock and roll heaven. They were fantastic. And Mick was, 80 years old, jumping around the stage like he's 15. You didn't know they were there?
No.
I feel like I would
help you
remember.
guys
I was
out.
a freshman, 8th grader, freshman in high school.
I was
You
gonna
don't even know who the Stones were at that time.
I would
Probably
say
don't know now.
Mick Jagger would get most people dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Man,
And
he's-
I learned something. I thought I knew something. I learned something about entertainment. There's people who can really do it well. It's a great gift. Great gift. Man. What were we talking about? Plane crash.
plane crash.
The beautiful
I did-
day.
One of the guys on the other plane, this goes back to Mitch Holtis. One of the guys on the other plane I got to know subsequently over the years was a guy named Ed Ploppa. And Ed Ploppa was on the other plane. He's a guy from, I don't know, Pennsylvania or whatever. And he became a good friend of a good friend. And so Mitch he loved that name Ploppa, so we'd call it the Ed Ploppa moment. Ed went with the team. They had a team meeting, said, do we want to try to play the rest of the season? Yeah, we're going to try to play it with whatever we got. Freshmen were eligible. They made them eligible. And they went to Arkansas for their first game back. And Ed said, we were walking down the street before the game and that morning, and those people were giving us money, patting us on the back, crying. The people in Arkansas were terrific. Said we went out, we got beat. Ed was a defensive back. They had him playing quarterback that day because he didn't have anybody. But, that aftermath, it was pretty interesting, amazing. And then the program did now and then pretty well after that, but they finally, I can remember when I got 6 Shocker football tickets every year free of charge. Then you'd go to the stadium and be playing K-State, and there'd be 9,000 people there. You just couldn't do it. My theory, I don't know if we want to get into this, my theory is over those years you had KU, K-State, Wichita State, Tulsa, all of them, and Oklahoma in this geographic area. You couldn't possibly find enough football players.
And Oklahoma State. They're even closer they're the closest one here, probably.
Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska. My friend that I had in high school went to Nebraska on a football scholarship from Wichita West. So I think it was just too many schools in one small area to recruit the players. Anyway, we're talking about sports now.
Yeah, the program shut down in 1986, right?
Yeah, 86. Yeah, 86 anyway. 86, 87.
I wish they still had football. God.
Well, they've talked about it over the years, and they just can't put it together. Ted Woodward and I were talking about one day. If you like that Powerball's up to what, $300 billion or whatever, some obnoxious figure. What would you do if you wanted? Said, I think Ted said, one thing I'd do, I'd bring back soccer football.
Not bad.
That's a
Actually,
fan.
I'd get a couple
Yeah.
$100 million and
That's a
start it and do it right.
Yeah. Yeah, if only Wichita had one of the wealthiest men in the history of the world living in the city. That would be nice.
It would be. It would be.
I couldn't help myself.
Shame on you. You're being sacrilegious there. You know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Back to Mike Kennedy though. Great for him.
Mike, great guy.
Great for him. Hope they finish strong this year. You know, they're playing
Well, they,
about as good as
are.
they played in a few years.
That was a good game the other day.
It was.
Very good game.
It was. They've had a fun season.
Yeah.
The American Conference is just so weird.
It's interesting what the guys I've talked to about this image and stuff in sports and paying the players and all that. And gosh, some of the there's a lot of things that are pretty disturbing that are going on for a lot of people. And I think they're destroying college sports. The NCAA is destroying college sports because of money, and it's all about money. So
I think I saw something where all three ADs, K-State's, KU's, and Wichita State's ADs, they're trying to go to the state for funding for NIL. Did you see that?
yeah, I saw something on that.
Ugh,
Get out of here.
I don't know about that.
No. And if I look at perspective, when my daughter was going to Wichita State, and my son was going to KU. Okay, it was expensive. We're middle class people. My wife and I both work. We make sacrifices a little bit. A textbook. First time I saw a textbook for like $75 for a textbook. I thought, gee, are you kidding me? And people
That's
going
it?
through that. People going like that, and there's guys who are getting paid to play a sport that I gave up when I was 16. Okay, and it's upside down. And I love sports. I like to watch it, but it's upside down.
They just need. I don't really care about. I mean, I honestly think they should be getting paid, but there's got to be. It can't be the Wild West.
No.
You can't just play for a new school. You have a 4-year college career. You're on 4 different teams.
Yeah.
Things like that. Like,
When I was growing up, the beauty of sports to me, I was a baseball fan. I could name you most of the starting lineups in the American League and who the players were and watch them in the sports page every day, what they were doing. You followed a team every year, every season, the same guys. That's what sports was. And this thing now where there's a different lineup every year, that's crazy. You can't get people going. And I have some very good friends who are Shockers, graduate from there, who are big Shocker fans. They don't go anymore.
really.
They don't go because it's a joke. To
Well, it
see
makes-
a different kid coming out there every night, you don't know who they are. You want to know who they are.
You want the connection.
Yes.
You want the connection between the players and the city.
The Fred and Ron teams, if those guys were just 10 years younger, that run of Wichita State basketball never happens because Duke or KU or whoever comes calling and offers Fred or Ron, you name it, and they're gone. Like that never happens. I don't think.
Personal feelings over the years. I think the best player they ever had at Wichita State was Dave Stallworth. And I think, in my mind, the second best was Fred. I never saw a player who a point guard, could see that floor and see where everybody was, and he knew what was going on.
Oh yeah, he was a
An
general.
incredible player. But then you look at the talent, most talented had to be Warren Armstrong. 6'2".
David brought him up.
Yeah.
Oh, research it. I don't think he's in the Shocker Hall of Fame. That's crazy.
David said he would jump ball. I think.
What?
At 6'2". He was 6'2",
Oh,
but
yeah.
he would jump for the opening tip off.
I saw a picture the other day where he's actually dunking over the top of a guy, like 6'10". He's just up there dunking over him. Now, I've heard this from a reliable source who played at Wichita State. Saw Warren Armstrong come into the gym in his street shoes, and somebody put a quarter on the top of the backboard, and he jumped out there and grabbed it. I believe it. There's this photo. There it is.
What a picture.
That's it.
Wow.
Now he's 6'2", and that other guy's probably 6'9" or 6'10".
That's Texas Tech. That's a Texas Tech guy getting dunked
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, he was
Wow,
in.
great picture.
Oh, I don't think he's in the Shocker Hall of Fame. I don't know why. He was in the ABA, the American Basketball Association, and he was out of Wyandotte, Kansas City, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, incredible player.
How was watching Larry Bird when he was at Indiana State. They came to Wichita Shirley.
Oh, yeah.
I saw
At
him
least
play out
once.
at Wichita State.
How
And
was
he
that?
was just a guy who could just shoot the eyes out of him. I mean, wherever he was, and you give the ball to Larry because he's our team, and he could throw. I mean, he could throw it from the sideline, underneath, wherever. It's like you look at a guy, the same era. Well, back to the '60s, Bill Bradley, who became a U.S. Senator. I don't know about Bill Bradley. Played with the Knicks with Stallworth. Bradley was like that. He was 6'5", but he could shoot, and I mean, he couldn't miss. Well, he's a banker's kid from Missouri, and all he did all day long was out there shooting hoops. And you go and you take that, and I remember my interview. I interviewed George Brett one time.
Oh,
And
nice.
Very cool.
Guy had enormous hands, which all great athletes have big hands and feet. He had these black calluses. I said, "What is that all about?" He says, "Well, it takes, you go up, take 100 swings in batting practice every day, and you don't wear gloves, so that's what happens. Every day, 100 swings. Now, you don't think sound like a lot? That's probably an hour and a half at least in a cage."
A Yankee fan would blame the pine tar.
Yeah, it was. It was from the pine tar. But then, these guys today, you see a baseball player that I can't follow baseball. Guys got muffin mitts on, and he's got, all these pads and shit. Brett goes out there with bare hands, and he can out-hit all of them.
That must be what it takes to hit 400.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
390.
390?
And that's
Ridiculous.
And that's the thing that I've watched through my career. And I've always tried to over-prepare and have the discipline to do the best I could every single day. Because I saw guys like George Brett, Bill Bradley, Dave Stallworth at Wichita State. These guys, they worked at it. And that's the way I think you get someplace. Now, you can work real hard, and if you don't get a couple of breaks, you're not going to go anywhere. You got to get a couple of breaks. And I've had those. But, I think prep, doing your research, doing your homework, preparation.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Something I'm learning as I get older, if you work hard, luck tends to find you.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I worked hard all I did. I didn't consciously realize that I was learning as I was going from other journalists and from experience, and I didn't realize that. But I got pretty good. But when I get confident, too cocky, I think, you're lucky to even be around. You're lucky. I'm lucky I ever got into a radio newsroom. I had no experience. There was no reason to be hired, but I got a break, and I got let go from that job. Then I got another break. I got KEYN. I spent 10 years at the top. We were the hardest rising FM radio station in America. We started out in the early 70s. KLEO, the AM, was way up here in ratings. We weren't even on a scout. By the time we got to 78, 79, there were no FM station radios in cars. The cars got more FM radios, and FM came in. And we started winning. And we had, I know this sounds a little far-fetched, but we had one of the best radio stations in the country, far and wide, for an adult contemporary in the 70s.
When you look back on your career, what are you most proud of? You've got so many accolades, so many great moments and great interviews. What are you most proud of?
I think when you talk about the awards, I think that KAB Hall of Fame award's big. Obviously, the Marconi Awards that Steve and Ted got, that's huge. That is like a National Academy Award or something. But I think I'm most proud that I don't think I've made too many enemies. I've always I've heard people say that they think I was a little distant and stern in the morning, because when I was prepping, I didn't have time to have some all-night DJ come and want to talk about what's going on with the. Okay, fine. Go away. But most proud of just being able to do it every day. I'm enjoying retirement, I'll tell you, without the commitments, but enjoying it, people. And we did fun things, and there was a good way to laugh almost every day. And I'm proud of the fact we never got a lawsuit.
Yeah, no, that's something that you should be proud of. 30, however many years you were on there, 7,000 shows.
7,000 shows,
Lots
and
said.
that was the second half of my career.
Right.
I did 24
A lot of words
years
have come
before
out of your mouth publicly.
Yeah, that's true.
Any curse words ever slip? I wouldn't have thought about that till Until he brought up a lot of words coming out. Did anything slip?
I can't recall. I may have said the S word, S-H-I-T.
Be hard
I
not
have to
to
spell that
after-
for your listeners.
Were you guys are you truly live, or is there like a 5-second delay?
Oh, there was a delay.
Okay.
Oh, I see. It was
So if you said something diabolical,
see,
they
that's
could,
just it. It's like a 10-second delay. It's on all the stations that we had at Odyssey. I can't remember that our production guy, our Jad, I can't remember he ever had to hit it. There were times when he probably should have, when I was having a coughing fit, and he just said, "Let him cough in the air. That's kind of funny." But I can't remember doing it. And no, I can't remember letting slip on the air.
Is there a delay in basically every live radio?
Probably so. It wasn't that way when we first started, but we got when a larger company took ownership. It was their rule, and so okay. And like I said, over 28 years, I don't think we ever needed it, but there it was. And you got the way that television radio stations are owned now by big corporations. I've been thinking the one I just left is one of the number 2 company in America, radio station wise, Odyssey, and I have no idea who the CEO is. I think it's a woman. She lives back in Philadelphia someplace. They never come here. They never come to Wichita. They've got like 100 radio stations, and they don't want to send in your reports. They don't have any idea. We're talking about, and it's, I don't want this to sound wrong, but you have Greg Williams, who passed the other day. 2 months before he passed, they let him go because they were restructuring. And I understand that, but it sure is crummy. I mean,
There's just no loyalty in the corporate world. It's
Oh,
just
no,
profit,
no.
profit, profit,
Yeah.
profit, period.
that's it.
Yeah.
You know, they look at talent in any company. The people who do the work, it's a line on the budget.
Right.
Keep it low. Keep it just as low as you can get it. You know, there's CEOs out there. Oh, that's not true. We have a day when everybody can wear jeans, and and I'm thinking, okay,
Pizza
thanks.
party.
Pizza.
Yeah, pizza parties.
Yep.
Thinking that
Get outta here.
Thinking that crap really matters
Right.
to people.
Pizza
When
party.
they did that, I'd go in the office and say, I got to work. Have fun.
Pizza party and no annual bonus.
Yeah.
What is it?
And no annual bonus.
Just a pizza party. Oh, you don't know what an annual bonus is?
The B word? You never heard of the B word?
I never heard the B word.
Me either.
I had one bonus back. I was working at a station back in the 90s, and I was working for a guy who had been a jock and was a great guy, and he understood us. And that he was able to get us, this is one of the best bonuses I ever had, an envelope with 3 $100 bills in it. And that was, I won't say it's the best I ever got. I did get another bonus later for sizable, but that was on performance. And so Christmas bonuses in radio went out about 25 years ago. And probably bonuses of every kind, except for the manager, who has kept down. The manager's done well by keeping down the expenses like talent. So he or she gets a bonus. They don't get a bonus. Are we communists or what? The thing is, our talk radios, on the conservatives, and they keep throwing out socialism. Well, it's terrible, worst thing in the world. Well, a whole generation looks around and says, well, you know what? How else? How can we get a piece of the pie?
That's exactly right.
How do we get something?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
In a workers unite. I'm not a communist. I'm very much a capitalist. But when you talk about corporations, my wife and I have worked for a few. I can tell you stories. There is no heart there. It's not mom
No.
and dad. No.
No.
And
You're a fool if you think
Yeah,
there
you
is.
are.
You are a
No.
fool.
Yeah.
Just open your eyes.
Yep. And the only thing that I can think of that doesn't inflate is people's salaries. Everything
Yeah.
else, inflation is
Minimum
everywhere else.
wage. Still what? Is it
$7.50.
minimum wage still $7.25
$7,
an
isn't
hour?
it?
I think so.
They're trying to get it up to 15.
Anybody
is
who's
what they
paying
got in
somebody that's over 20 years old, $7.25 an hour, needs to be thrown in jail. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. $7.25. That's like $5 after they take out Social Security and Medicare and your state income tax. You make like $5 an hour.
Well,
You go $5 an hour
But you-
downtown on the street, just
you
picking
do
stuff
that.
up.
You do that on a local level. You give those kids a big raise like that, your workers. You know what you're going to get? $4 hamburgers. Wait a minute.
Right. Like that's not
already
here.
have those.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've already got that.
I could go on and on and on about that BS. God, infuriates me.
I know. Well, Steve,
What's our time look like? You guys?
I was going to ask, what do you got for us? We've covered just about everything I wanted, everything I had in mind.
This is fun. I mean, maybe get on 2 or 3 guys talking. Just take a topic and I don't know who they would be. Guys, say women, men, whoever. This is. I think you guys are on the right track. This is neat. I like what you're doing,
Thank you,
sir.
and I like your interest in history. Boy, oh boy. I'm going tomorrow. This Wednesday. I'm going Wednesday. Shelley and I are going down to the museum downtown, Wichita Sedgwick County Historical Museum in the old building. They're having an hour presentation on the Dust Bowl.
Ooh.
And we're going to go to we've never done something like this. I'm retired now. I'm going to go. That ought to be fun.
Do we have
cool.
tickets?
Yeah, we had Lynn Rogers in here a few months back. He gave us tickets. He volunteers at the museum.
Yep, Lynn's a great guy.
That's Saturday?
Wednesday. It's tomorrow
Oh.
at 10.
AM.
Yeah. Before you want to get up, if you've been drinking all night.
That's interesting. I love
this
I
Dust
love Old West history,
Yeah.
like Dust Bowl and pre-Dust Bowl.
Well, see, you
love
talk
it.
about Old West. My mom and dad were raised in the Dust Bowl. My mom was raised in western Kansas, which was the heart of the Dust Bowl. Well, they had nothing. No food. They'd take, you know what tumbleweed is?
Mm-hmm.
They would boil those and make some sort of a soup out of it.
Dust
They would
stew.
cut out a dead animal, the dead cow, they would cut open the belly, and dust would come out.
Wow.
And people were just starving and dying. And you say, okay, well, socialism's bad. Well, Roosevelt was smart enough to know we got to do something to save this country. And it may not be totally clean, but we got to start figuring out a way to get people to work until they can take care of themselves.
Right. Man. Yeah, and that Dust Bowl, like those kids, those are the kids that fought World War II.
Yeah.
Like
That
the
was
kids
a
that
tough-
grew up in the Dust Bowl.
That's a
Because
tough-
we have our mom's mom, who's passed away for a while now. She grew up in Abilene, Kansas, and she had a whole bunch of brothers, and they knew, some of the brothers knew Dwight D. Eisenhower, who also grew up in Abilene, Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
There's 5 brothers there, the Eisenhowers, an amazing group of guys. All 5 of them were successful guys. But Dwight Eisenhower, he's a neglected hero of mine. I mean, what he did in World War II, getting those people to work together was incredible. With Montgomery and Patton and Bradley and all those guys.
Yes.
And I think he was a good president. He wasn't, he wasn't over the top conservative, but he understood we had to try to take care. His thing that he said, one of the final things he said, but do you know how many, for the price of one bomber, how many schools can be built? Dozens and dozens and hundreds for one bomber. And there's a guy who knew what he was talking about. Eisenhower, he's a great hero.
He's the one that coined the military-industrial complex.
That's right.
Yep.
That's his
Like,
deal.
he might not be the first, but he was the one that put it in the
That's the
mainstream.
one I think he is.
Great parting speech.
Yeah.
Oh,
Think-
epic.
Back to Normandy. Think about the weight on Eisenhower's mind during the
That guy-
invasion of Europe.
3 packs of Camels every day. Oh, man. Hey, he's
I believe
lucky.
it. That's like Churchill with
Him
his
and Churchill.
with his pipe
He had a cigar.
cigar.
Yep.
Okay. Oh,
I mean, you probably do have some sort of a sin with that
Vice.
much stress.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, whether it's
You've got a
maybe
vice.
drinking a little too much. You
there
name
was
it.
all the
but-
rumors about him and his female driver possibly having an affair and all. I've never seen that they actually proved that. Although he and his female,
Churchill?
No, Eisenhower.
Oh,
And
Oh,
his
I never
female-
heard of that.
Yeah, his female driver, I can't remember what her name was, but I don't know. There's a lot of stress going on, and she was very smart, and she was very pretty, and very loyal to him. I don't know if they ever had an affair, but it's always been rumored. But, that kind of stress. You're lucky you didn't do even worse.
yeah. I can't imagine. I mean, you truly have the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Like that's not a metaphor.
No.
Like, that's real. That was real for those guys.
Well, what if we had lost?
Right.
What if, guys
Everything's
like
changed.
Eisenhower, Patton, the first thing the Nazis would have done was hung them.
Yeah. Right.
They would have hung or shot every one of them. They were shooting everybody.
Same
They're
thing with the
their own
Declaration
people.
of Independence.
Yeah.
All those guys that signed that, they knew if they lost, they were going to
We'll
be
hang
hung.
together or we'll hang individually.
Yep.
That's true. They would have.
Amazing courage.
Yeah, definitely. You know, another place I really want to go to that I've heard great things about is the World War I Museum in Kansas City.
I've been there. It is
I-
good. You should see it.
I have never been there. I need to get there.
It's very good. Very good.
That's what I've heard. That's the
My mom,
consensus.
when you talk about my mom, she lived in a place called Roselle, which is west of Larned out in the Dust Bowl. And they grew up with her dad. My granddad was the town tinker. He could fix or build anything. He built his own lawnmowers, his own cars, but he never had a nickel. He never had 2 nickels to rub together. But he raised 6 kids in a Dust Bowl. And they were all, my mom's and my aunts were all outstanding people. And
You ever wish
they
you
were
could,
tough.
you ever wish you could go back in time and just kind of see how they did that? Like, you just be a fly on the wall.
My
Just,
granddad.
how do you raise 6 kids with 5
Well,
cents?
my dad's had 6 kids. He was the son of a preacher, so he had no money. There's never been any money in my family, ever. But my mom, she had 5 sisters and 1 brother, and he was the apple of my granddad's eye. My granddad had been a baseball player, pitcher, and Chester was this young man's name, and he was an athlete and good-looking, popular. He was the biggest thing in school.
His name was Chester?
Chester Smith. And Chester was out driving a tractor. He was helping a guy with his harvest, and he got hit by lightning
Oh, my goodness.
and killed, just like that. Whoa! And I got to thinking about this the other day because my 2 brothers and I played football, basketball, and baseball clear through high school. Games, and my granddad would come to visit. He never came to a game. My dad went to all of them. My granddad never went to our games. And I figured it out. He couldn't handle it. He could not handle it. He had a son who died, and he couldn't handle it.
Man.
Anyway, great stories. Wow. You
Yeah.
guys are doing a good job.
Thanks.
Thank
You
you,
just kind of shoot it.
Thank you, sir. We do our homework.
Are you related to Sally Dewey?
Maybe.
I don't know. There's a lot of Deweys,
Yeah,
but
okay.
Sally's not a name that comes to mind.
She's a judge, and I think she served on the city council.
Jeff, we are related to him. He's a judge as well. I think
That's his son, her son, probably.
Oh.
She had a nice big house that's over there on the historical register. I don't know.
Oh.
I didn't know.
Jeff is like a cousin of our dad, I think.
That's another thing. You sit down and take 2-3 people at a party and start. I'm good at this because what I did for a living for years. I'm good at that. I started drawing them out. Well, where are you from? What was your, what was your maiden name? What did your dad do? Pretty soon you find a connection. You know somebody they know.
Isn't that funny?
Oh yeah, this is a big little town.
Totally.
Yeah,
Wichita's great in that aspect.
I like it.
It is, because you really do have a common denominator with so many people that you might not even ever uncover. Yeah. But in Wichita, it is like that. You probably know somebody that they know or related or whatever.
Absolutely.
Well, sir, this was phenomenal.
Well, what'd you guys get? How'd you come up with this idea?
There's a lot of great people, really interesting people in this town, and it's also very easy, at least for me, to get stuck in a cycle where I wake up, commute to work, go to work, commute home, eat dinner, watch Netflix, sleep, repeat.
Yeah.
I don't want to get stuck in that cycle.
Yeah.
I want something to look forward to. Like today, woke up, I'm like, great, I'll go to work, talking to Steve tonight. Great. Having something like that and something to continue to push forward and work on. I don't know. That's a big reason why I wanted to do it.
Well, and it's a unique deal that you're doing here. It's especially in this market. Radio and TV are not doing this. TV could, but they don't. That's a half hour they could be doing weather on.
Right.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed in local strips? You got weather, then you got a little news. More weather, little news. More weather spots. More weather sports. More weather spots. Oh, by the way, more weather.
You know what's weird is
And it's
that
the same weather.
is that as I've gotten older, and I'm 31, so take that as you want, but I kind of enjoy throwing on the local news for a half an hour. It just, I don't know if it's like nostalgic or just like, hey, what's going on in the city? Because I'm always I'm watching YouTube or listening to a podcast or watching sports. We're like throwing like the local news on, but especially if we're getting weather, like some weather stuff.
Well,
I really love it. I don't know. I feel maybe a little more connection.
After you buy all the expensive equipment, and you hire a half dozen meteorologists at, let's say, I don't know what they make. What are you going to do? You better put something on the air. And other than that, to me, it's kind of cheap. It doesn't cost as much as going out and covering a story and sending somebody out in a car. It's kind of cheap. They do a good job from what they have on TV. But you can get the grist of the good, about the first 5 or 6 minutes, local news, 2 or 3 stories. And then the rest of it's national and weather.
Right. But even like, I guess it's not the fall, but you can get some high school sports because, I'm not following it anymore really, but it's kind of fun to see, West played Carroll or whatever and kind of catching the highlights of that. Like,
I like that.
I don't know, just makes me feel grounded in a world where you don't feel grounded, I think.
What's our common denominator as people?
Yeah.
That's a deep question. I don't know what it is. I mean, you're talking to people that like to have some local, know what, it's a neighbor. What's a neighbor doing?
Yeah, right.
And there you go. How many people in your neighborhood do you know?
Yeah, not many.
I know.
Not
it's
many.
Weird. And I'm guilty of it. Completely guilty of it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, you look like a recluse with your beard and everything.
Thank you.
I would not trust my kids with you.
Hey, I got 2 little ones who think I am the SHIT.
Hey, I know one neighbor now.
Do you? Yeah.
You don't live too far.
Down the street. You're not too far.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys throw block
I've
party.
been looking for somebody.
Really bring it back.
Been looking for somebody to mow my grass for a long time.
Well, I got a roommate back there.
he
He's
can
a good
handle
guy. You got anything, man?
No, this is a treat.
Riverside's a great place to live.
Truly.
You're a long way from any of the really big, nice steakhouses, but
You're not far from anywhere, though, because we grew up out west. We've had WSU
where
season
were you
tickets
out
for
west? Here, this is me doing it.
119th and 13th is where we grew up.
119th.
Yes.
See, when I was a kid, we shoot rabbits out there.
I bet. What was the last paved road west, like from north to south when you were a kid?
From north south?
Yeah.
Probably Maze.
Like West Street?
Maze,
Maze was?
Maze is dirt.
What was last paved? Was Tyler paved?
It would have been Tyler. Or one of the many residential streets going west of Tyler out to Maze Road.
Gotcha.
It's amazing that West Street used to be west. It's
I
not
know.
west anymore.
No. Definitely not.
Wichita's expanded
West
like
and
crazy.
Central, they used to have a Griff's. You know what a Griff's is? It's a hamburger stand. 15-cent hamburgers. Right next to it was a Pizza Hut, one of the first. And we would go on a Friday night, we'd go down to Griff's, get in the parking lot, sit in our cars, look for girls, get in the cars, go drag Douglas, come back down, sit at the parking lot, and wait for girls to come by. And that's where we hung out. And
Dragon Douglas.
Dragon Douglas.
You got any wild stories about Dragon Douglas?
We dragged Douglas almost nightly for years and years and years. I don't remember ever picking up or even talking to a good-looking girl. And it wasn't that there weren't any good-looking girls. When they saw me, they rolled out the window. I don't know what it was. But we kept dragging. We kept looking.
Good for you.
That's too funny.
And I found a girl, though. I found a nice Catholic girl.
Good for you.
And she's been a treat.
Good.
We've had a good time.
Good.
I always hear about Dragon Douglas. That must have been quite the time.
Well, a quick story. I was my friends and I were behind in Delano, behind us, at what was called Scotty's Club Billiards at that time, snooker pool hall. We hung out there quite a bit. And we were back behind it at 1 o'clock in the morning in a car. And I won't tell you what we were doing, but it wasn't legal. And we looked up, and there's 2 cop cars hemming us in. Big sergeant, I can remember who the guy was, big sergeant with a great big belly. Says, boys, there's 2 kind of people in an alley in Wichita, Kansas at 1 o'clock in the morning. one of them cops and the other's criminals. Which are you? I said, we're gone. He said, you're right. And it's all, they talked to us. They didn't pull us out of the car. They said, get out of here, you guys. You know, you could do that with cops in those days.
Yeah.
It's like when cops would pull you over for drunk driving back then. They just follow you home.
Yeah, yeah. Drunk driving. Ooh, there's a whole topic, huh? Wow, that's incredible. What drunk drivers have done to people. And then it goes back to a person who apparently was inebriated, who rammed their car into my good friend Don Hall's car.
Yep.
That was the morning I was in the studio and in news, heard the call on the police scanner and everything. And Don's, of course, he was, for those who don't know, he did years at KUYN before that, many years at KKRD, Dancing Don. And I'd known him since the early 70s. We did a show together in the early 70s, KUYN. But his desk was from here to your producer over there, from mine. And he was 4 o'clock in the morning. I heard the call, and he was on his way into work and got clobbered. So, but there have been a few of those, but there's been I've had a lot of good times, a lot of fun times, great times.
Mm-hmm. Don Hall was such a great voice at Wichita State games, too.
He did. He was a good
being the PA. Great PA.
I think Ted's doing a good job, too, but it's a completely different deal, isn't it?
Yeah, 2 completely different voices.
Yeah. But that's all right.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. We
right.
just heard Don Hall for our entire lives.
Yeah.
So
We're going to have a brand new voice of the Shockers next year.
Do we have any speculation?
Shane Dennis?
I thought it'd be Shane Dennis. That's my guess.
That's what I've been hearing. And I know Shane.
It makes sense.
Shane was professional pitcher, wasn't he? I know his dad pitched for the Cardinals. Didn't Shane do some professional baseball?
Oh, I don't know.
I think he did.
He could have. I just don't
I know he calls the WSU baseball games, and
Yeah.
he also does ESPN Plus stuff for basketball, too.
Well, he's a great guy, and I was at one Shocker baseball game several years ago, and he was standing right there with me, and we were just chatting away, and a foul ball came up, and it was coming in my direction. And I was camped into that, and all of a sudden this big hand comes over and grabs it. It's Shane. He made me mad. He's a good guy, though. He'll do a great job if that's the one they choose.
I agree.
That was my guess. I can't think of anybody else unless they pulled in an outsider, which I don't know if they do that or not.
Did Kennedy get into any of the old radio voices for sports? There've been some pretty good ones.
I can't remember, really.
The first one I can remember when I was growing up, Shocker basketball, was a guy named Rick Weaver.
Is he the put in the deep freeze?
No, that's Gus Grebe. He came after Rick Weaver.
Okay.
Rick Weaver was Rick Weaver and your receiver. Great big voice, kind of a jerk. But he wound up doing Miami Dolphins football.
Wow.
He was good. And that's one of the first guys I said, I'd like to do that. Yeah. And I got to know Gus over the years. He's a great guy. Gus Grebe was a terrific guy.
Wow.
There you go.
Well, Kevin Harlan's kind of local, too, isn't he?
Well, he did he do Chiefs, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he's a KU grad.
Did he? Or was he?
I think.
I think he did Chiefs for a while. I'm not an expert, but there you go.
Another great announcer. Well, any final remarks?
No, are we through? You guys don't have to.
We don't have to be.
I'm so used to, are we at the top of the hour? We got to hit that mark. Don't do that.
How long have we gone? Hour 15?
Hour 26.
Ooh.
Hour 26. That flew.
So if this
by.
was your show,
Good Lord.
we'd only be halfway through.
Yeah.
So you're growing up. Who'd mom like best? And maybe
The dog.
Yeah.
yeah. I had three brothers, and I can tell you, Mom didn't like any of us. Thanks, guys, for doing this. I appreciate it.
No problem.
No problem.
Thank
This
you for
was
coming
an
on.
absolute blast.
Oh,
So thank you so much for taking the time.
let's do it again sometime. We'll just pick a topic.
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Let's all study some
You know, we
history deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We should do
Break
history.
something down.
Something history related.
Okay. Or, I kind of like adult entertainers. I know you get some people watching that. The local
And we are
adult
taking off
entertainment.
YouTube.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
Figure something out.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
It'd be great. There's too many great topics.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Good luck to you.
We'll definitely do that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for this, and congratulations.
I'm getting that lawnmower fixed this week, so we'll be ready to go.
Yeah, I'll give you Blake's phone number.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Congratulations again on all the success and retirement.
you.
Much deserved. So, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.